let's put our hands together for Con
Con
Funk
Funk
Shun.
Shun.
Come on out.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, did you hear this?
Here we go.
She
Here
said,
we
oh,
go.
he's cute. Uh-oh.
Thank you guys so much for being here, man.
Yo.
This is
I love it.
fantastic. I mean, the audience loves you guys. You know, the sweet science of live instrumentation, which is something that we don't practice the way we used to.
Yeah.
And it's just wonderful that you're here on the Soul Train Cruise to show us how it's done. You know.
We're so honored and grateful for you to have us. Give them another round of applause. Come on, y'all.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So can we ask you to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you've been up to lately? The three of you, just each of you.
Reverend Carl Fuller, trumpet background, original member.
Michael Cooper, I'm lead singer, somewhat manager, and man, I got all kind of stuff to say, so I'm just going to shut up and let him take over because we won't even get past me.
Felton Violet, also one of the original members.
Wonderful. So, tell us a little bit about Con Funk Shun these days. What's going on, and anything we need to know right now?
Yeah, I pretty much know it all. Con Funk Shun continues to, do live music and play concerts. That's kind of where we got our start, live music. But we're also into other things. Felton is a stellar producer of many artists and up-and-coming artists, by the way. He's writing and arranging and producing for a lot of people. And, of course, one of the noted production projects in his career was that of MC Hammer. Yeah, and Too Legit to Quit. You can't touch this. And so just to give you an idea. Yeah, and not to mention the writing of almost everything on the Con Funk Shun album. Yeah, so no, and myself, I'm constantly into music, playing music, but I'm also a sheriff's deputy out in Solano County, California. So I do that on a part-time basis. And between that and being a grandfather and a husband to the coolest German lady you ever want to see in your life, you got to meet her. She's out of this world, my wife. And being a husband, being a grandpa, being a guitar player, lead singer, manager, and then riding in a patrol car. That's quite enough. I think that's enough.
Oh, yeah, you're doing it. Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, it's so great to see you guys again. It's been a while since you've been here with us on the Soul Train Cruise. We're happy to have you back. So let's just talk a little bit about the music. I mean, you've been doing it for a long time. You've been in it for a long time, and you've watched many things. You've seen music, I'll say, evolve. So what do you say to the younger artists these days who are looking at you saying, I want the longevity like you have, but I'm just starting out? What do you tell them?
I would start with the phrase, it's called the music business for a reason. It's not the music fun and games. It's not the music friendship. It's the music business. And that was a particularly hard lesson for me. We were talking about this earlier, because when we first got into this, it was all about the music, Oh, we get paid too. Hey, cool.
You get paid.
Oh, and when the business part hit, it was like an interesting lesson and an eye-opening experience. But if you're having any hopes of succeeding, learn the business. That actually is going to be more important than actually the music part. The companies are here to make money, so you really have to keep that at the forefront. And then it's an interesting balance to stay true to your music while adhering to the rules of the business.
I love that. And we ask that to almost everyone who comes because it is important, especially for younger artists, to hear that you've got to watch your money, you've got to pay attention, right, to what's going on in your career.
Yeah, I was telling Michael backstage that I'm mad at him because last time he was here, I asked him to do one of his singles called Dinner for Two. And he didn't do it this time.
So he's in trouble.
I don't know what I'm going to do about that, but I can always grab the CD, though. But Michael, in particular, I just wanted to ask you, when it came to one of the original members that passed on, had they still been around, would Con Funk Shun have gone in another direction? I mean, where do you think Con Funk Shun would be had that not happened?
No, and I think we've had one, our original drummer, Louis McCall. When you hear Fun, 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 Shake and Dance with Me, Too Tight, you're listening to, I call him Lou Brew, Mr. Lockdown. And he was not fancy dancy, twirling sticks and playing every drum on all night long. He had a lockdown that made you get ugly in the face. And that's all you need when you got a name like Con Funk Shun. You need a drummer that's going to be stomping, like our present drummer, Aaron Green. And he do it all. So, no, Louis, when he left us, it was earlier, I would say, it was later in the original Con Funk Shun, the original guys. It was later in that career. But we also kept in touch throughout the beginning of the new Con Funk Shun. And his path was just different. His path was that of he did some car selling, and he's a car salesman, and he did some things. But he would be, it's well known what happened to him. It's all over, unsung, it's everywhere. He came to a very bad ending. And I don't mind saying it, and the Reverend will tell me, go right ahead and say it. He got involved with drugs. And I've always had a problem believing that had I not extended myself to him and brought him back into the new Con Funk Shun, that it might have saved him, because our former bass player once told me about, say, 5 or 10 years ago, he came to one of our gigs, and he says, man, it would be great for me to come back. He says, because I literally have a hole in my soul.
Wow.
And as a group leader, it sticks with you. And then when one of us passes away like that, with that, knowing that about him, that's something. So yeah, the loss of Louis, it affected us a lot, but it really affected me quite a bit.
Thank you for sharing that, really.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have been together for many, many years, and so you're like family, right? I mean, I would think that when something affects you that deeply, it runs deep.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And see, right now, my wife would say, okay, that's enough of that. she was like, okay, that's enough of that, because it runs a long time, a long way, and he's watching over us up there. So
there you go. That's it. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about when people cover your music and how that makes you feel. How about Drew Hill's "Love Train"?
Ooh,
Man.
Uh-oh.
First it was Drew Hill, who covered Love Train. And we were excited about that. Someone else did a cover Straight from the Heart.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I can't remember who they were. But it is such an honor when someone does that, because it kind of takes me back to when we were a top 40 band, right? And we were constantly paying tribute to everyone else's song that we were playing. We had a Blue Magic medley that we used to do. We had an Earth, Wind, and Fire medley that we do. So it was always, being able to pay tribute. And then, wow, someone's paying tribute to me. Wow, that's makes me feel old, but but and then Bruno Mars.
Yeah, that was. I got to tell y'all this story because, you know, my phone buzzed about 7 o'clock in the morning, right? And my daughter, who doesn't usually call me that early or text me that early, you know, and it says, "Have you seen this?" And I'm like, I'm looking. I said, well, maybe I need to scroll. And I'm scrolling down, and there's this big decal of Silk Sonic, right? And, you know, I hadn't really gotten deep into Silk Sonic. I only knew of one song, and we might even be able to play that today. But I hadn't gotten deep into them. So I scrolled down, and you see there where your little thing there where you got some music to play. I hit that number, and I heard that rat-tat, dun, 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 bang. And I listened for a minute, and when they started singing, I stopped it. And I ran out to the car, because I knew that's what the sound is. I ran out to the car, and I started it up in the car and turned it up. And man, I sent it to Felton. I said, have you heard this? He says, no. And I played it about 5 times. Wow. Right? And everything started to unfold. Then we started putting together anything and everything in any kind of way we could to get down to Las Vegas to meet these brothers. Wow. And thanks to our publicist, Miss Tanya Holly, who's out here somewhere. She's sitting here somewhere. There she is. She put together a wonderful, wonderful meeting at the MGM Park, backstage with Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars. Wow. And I don't have to tell y'all, when we were out in the audience before that meeting, and was it after? No, we met them before the show, so we were out in the audience after we met them. And, of course, both of them gave shouts out. We had 9,000 people in the stadium. And both of them, every time they took the microphones, on, ladies and gentlemen, we got Michael Cooper, Con Funk Shun, right? And then one of the other ones said, hey, we had Felton Pilot, Con Funk Shun, you know. And, of course, then in I think it was the 4th song in the show, they jumped in the Love Train. And I don't have to tell y'all, I'm standing there, my wife, she's standing next to me because she knew what was going to happen. I'm like, yeah. And about halfway through the song, it hit me. I was like, am I standing here watching one of the biggest artists in the world doing our song, right? And I'm sitting there, and of course, and my wife, she hugged me around the neck. She said, and then I start seeing people start getting out of their seats coming over to me, right? The mayor of San Francisco, Mayor London Breeze, she got up, and then LeVar Burton got up and came over and hugged me. I was like, whoa, you know. But it was an experience that it's like it's seconds only to my children being born. It was an experience that I will never forget as long as I live. It was absolutely wonderful.
Yes. Wow. I understand we actually have some of the music for those who didn't. Didn't you bring some with you?
Yeah. Where's he at? Oh, there he is. Find the Bruno Mars remake. What's it? Dang, I forgot that.
Leave the door open.
Leave the door open. Leave the door open. Check this out. This is us. This is us getting back at him.
Returning the honor.
Pump it, baby.
Hey, what you do? What you do? Where you at? Where you at? Oh, you got plans? Don't say that. Shut your trap. I'm sipping wine. Sip, sip. In a row. Drip, drip. I look too good. Look too good to be alone. Ooh. My house clean. House clean. My pool warm. Just shake. Smooth like a newborn. Oh, we should be dancing, romancing in the east wing, in the west wing of this mansion. Standing. I ain't playing no games. Every word that I say is coming straight from the heart. So if you're trying to lay in these arms, I'ma leave the door open. I'ma leave the door open. I'ma leave the door open, girl. I'ma leave the door open, open. That you feel the way I feel and you
So we did that.
Fantastic. That is fantastic.
And that's a rough mix. That's not even the final. You should hear his final mix, man. All
Sounds
done
good.
by, this producing fool right here,
You know,
Dr. Felton Clyde.
Let's talk a little bit about producing and writing and what was happening in the 70s and 80s and 90s as opposed to what's happening now. Has anything changed when it comes to actual producing in the studio?
Back in the day, there's that phrase. Back in the day, we would spend 4 hours loading up and tuning up the drums, setting up the drum, right? Today, at the end of 4 hours, I've finished the song.
Yeah.
Modern technology has allowed us, producers and music creators, to get to what we want to hear very quickly. I have access to an entire orchestra at my fingertips, all right? Which is, in terms of, like I said, trying to get your idea, the way you hear it in your head, to a place where you can just sit back and listen to it, come back to how you hear it. It is so much easier and faster nowadays. On the other hand, there is that thing of what's happening. You've got some musicians sitting in a studio, and each person is aware of what they're going to play, but musicians don't always play at exactly the same time every single time. So there's always this magic thing of working when you're working with live musicians, And sometimes it's a trade-off. There's that business thing that I was talking about earlier, right? That balance between the business says you got to get it done within a certain budget, within a certain time, but then there's that feel thing about the music. The feel is just irreplaceable.
It's interesting you said that. I remember years ago my father was telling me, being in the studio, the difficult part is, you're in the studio with a musician and he plays a lick and you say, can you play that lick again? He said, what do you mean, this one? He said, no, not that one. This one, no, not that one. You know what I'm saying? So he talked about music in a box, how that music in a box is way more efficient than a live musician in the studio. But, the purists obviously feel like, we're missing something special because we don't have that thing anymore. But it had saved a lot of time,
Absolutely.
Obviously, so.
The thing, if you don't mind, the thing about Con Funk Shun, we got our notoriety from being a horn band. And the Reverend over here, the trumpet player, he's a whip cracker. And let's play it again. Let's play it again. Nah, let's play it till we get it right. So horns at that time were really, really, really big. You had Express, BT Express. You had, of course, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Yeah, of course, all the big cats. And we had our mandrill. Anybody remember mandrill?
Of course.
Apis High, Fence Walk. Well, we had that mandrill horn section. We had the three, trumpet, trombone, and sax. And there's a lot you can do with the trumpet and the trombone and sax combination. Well, nowadays you can add the keyboard with that, and you sound like 6 horn players up there. But we learned, we got our notoriety and our slam from being a horn band, right? And so that's something that I can try to. I always wanted to play a horn. I couldn't play a horn. I couldn't get it down. But yeah.
Real quick, he said that to remind me. The old school version of auto-tune is do it again.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Carl, one more time. Mr. One more time.
So, Mr. One More Time, we want to hear from you, too. Talk about that and what motivated you and tell us about your Mr. One More Time.
Well, we wanted to get it right to everyone's approval in the group. And obviously, Felton and Maceo at the time and myself, we all had different ideas of what right was. So we do it over and over, and we do it until we couldn't do it no more. And somewhere in there, it'd be right.
Once you keep on doing it, somebody's going to say, all right, all right, all right.
Yeah.
That's
He
it. I
was
think we got it.
relentless.
Plus, we enjoyed playing, which we still do, and it was fun. We'd have to sit, back in the day, like Felton said, we'd have to sit for almost maybe a month before we could get to play. They'd have to do the drums and get that right. That'd take about a week, and then they'd have to do the bass, and then the guitar, and the keyboard. Then he'd have to lay down a lead track, a vocal track for us to play around. Then we get a chance to play, and of course they only gave us 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
That's why we'll keep saying, "Oh, let's do it again. We need to suck up some of this budget." But yeah, it worked out, and it was enjoyable. But it was a lot of people think being a musician and an entertainer is all flash and fun and games and celebrity and wealth. Well, I'm here to tell you, it ain't all that.
But what I love is the stories about back in the day. It was a lot more work, but do you think that some of the music has suffered because it's a lot easier? Anybody can go in their basement and put together, this is my track. They're maybe barely a musician, but, they can do it.
I think there's a balance that has to be maintained, right? Technology can, when used as an assistant, is very efficient. When it's used as a replacement, then at that point, mediocrity becomes the norm. And I think that we've kind of drifted toward that in the recent years.
Well said.
Many times we have artists come and talk about songs that they've written or songs that they've produced and why and what they liked and what they didn't like. Do you guys have any stories about any songs that you've done and why you did that song, what the meaning was behind that song? Any between the three of you?
Fun. Sly Stone, who's from the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and we followed him very closely. As a matter of fact, we wound up going to the same college as Sly Stone and had the same instructor, Mr. David Froelich. And Sly had, for example, he had a song called Fun, and it was just spelled F-U-N, fun, and I forgot how it goes, but it had a bounce to it and a flavor to it that was just infectious. So when it came time for us, our first album didn't have a hit on it, so we had a second album in that contract, and it came time for us to have a hit. And I thought about the title Fun. And on the way to Little Rock, Arkansas, I had this lick in my head. And I played this lick when we got to the club in Little Rock. I played this lick, and then we had a little TAC 4-track machine, and I played the drums with the guitar, and I played the bass line. And when I got through, I had something there. And I said, you know what? I'm going to put 2 Fs on this song. So people will ask, why did you put 2 Fs in Fun? Right? And of course, the hook is fun, right? And I don't know, man, it's like that song solidified us at radio. And it was so simple and so simplistic. I never wrote a second verse. We just sung this first verse twice. And it let us know that, you can gruel over writing a song. You can gruel for days and days. And sometimes your best effort will come from the simplest little lick. And so it's kind of weird. You don't know when you're going to write a song. You don't know how you're going to write a song. You sit down, you're going to write a song, but you might have already written the song in the car, sitting at the red light. And now you got a phone, you can turn that sucker on and hum it right there in the phone. So that's what's happening. We will never stop with this technology that's available to us today. We will never stop. I have an entire album in my phone right now, literally saved in the phone in WAV file, which is a high amount of memory in my phone. And it's, of course, at the studios and at his house and different places. But Con Funk Shun has a new album. And by the way, the name of the album is Smooth Jukebox. So,
Like
and you
that.
just heard one of the songs
I like
on there.
that. I'm happy that you brought music. And I heard that you got more than one that you brought with you. Do y'all want to hear something else? If they
You guys want to hear
more?
another one?
Let's see. I forgot the titles. Oh, well, let me do a little funk. Let's do a little funk. This song is feet on. Could you find feet on the ground? Feet on the ground. Find that one from. Keep your feet on the ground, and it's got a little philosophy in it.
You can't stand the heat, get your ass out the kitchen, boy. It's what they say. It's what they say. Say what you mean what you say. Read about a little bit every day. Baby say, apple don't fall too far from the tree. Look at me. Keep your feet on the ground. 'Cause you's a country boy, yeah.
Everything glitter ain't gold, but sometimes it is. It's what they say. It's what they say. What they say. Say, hey.
Most things fat don't mean it's greasy. Keep your hands out the cookie jar.
It's what they say.
I really like this next line. Just watch out now.
Hospitals and legs, only thing open after 12.
It's what they say. It's what they say.
That's what they say.
Used to say, Big Mama used to say, but most of all we
Anyway, that's just a sample of some funk.
That was
And,
awesome.
and it's a work mix. So that song's been completely mixed and it's ready to go. But it's a work mix. What you're hearing.
How do you know that you've got a hit? I mean, just listen to that is so funky. That sounded amazing, right? So just tell us a little bit about the process. I mean, people can play around with music, play around with beats. You can do kind of everything these days. But how do you know that you've got something special?
I'm going to answer that because nobody knows when you have a hit. That's why you hire Babyface. That's why you hire, what's my man down in Atlanta? I lost my mind here, Wiley Morris. That's why you hire Wiley Morris, because these cats supposedly know what a hit is. I fancied myself as knowing what a hit is. I mean, we had fun, and it hit, right? And then I did Shake and Dance with Me, and it was a hit. I was like, oh, man, I'm all that in a bag of chips now, man. Oh, man, I got 2 records, right? All right, and then what was it, Chase Me?
Chase Me, right?
Felton wrote the music, I wrote the lyrics to Chase Me, and it hit. Now, we were spoiled then.
Okay.
Now we spoiled. We got the tour buses and stuff. So we didn't know we were going to have a hit. We just sent it to the company and say, that's it. So now it's a no one knows what a hit is. And any group, anywhere, from the baddest cats in the, Earth, Wind, and Fire, to the Kool and the Gangs, to all the people that are out still working now, none of them could sit here and tell you, I knew Mighty Mighty was going to be a hit. I knew Love's Holiday was going to be a hit. I knew Celebrate was going to be a hit. You didn't know it, but you just hoped, and we got lucky.
It's interesting that you mentioned Earth, Wind, and Fire and Fun. We did not know Fun was going to be a hit. In fact, we didn't think it was going to be a hit. But it became a hit, It went to number one, and what most people don't know is it knocked September by Earth, Wind, and Fire out of number one.
Did not know that.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Fun, fun, fun.
We had an interesting connection to Earth, Wind, and Fire because the writer of their song, You Can't Hide Love and Love's Holiday, his name was Skip Scarborough. Skip Scarborough produced 4 of our girl albums. You mentioned about the songwriting process, and Mike said sometimes it takes days. We wound up with a song. Our process was we would do demos and submit songs to record them. So we were in the middle of recording that particular album, and we had gone to lunch, and Skip was working on an idea. And when we came back, he was playing this. Dun, 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 dun. Oh man, we like that groove. So we sat down and we learned that groove, and we recorded that groove. It didn't have any lyrics. I took a take home. I wrote lyrics that night, brought it back to the band. We recorded the lyrics the next day. It became the title track on the album.
Wow, nice.
Secrets.
Secrets.
Yeah.
Song put together in 2 days.
Wow. Wow.
That's where it happens. That's the way it happens, Joe.
You know, it's also interesting. I remember, I don't know if those days still exist, where a song is played at the top of every hour on the radio. And the more you hear it, the more it sinks into your head. I remember Smokey Robinson had a song called, the name of the song escapes me, but I hated the song. And he goes, I don't want to be without you, baby, or something of that nature. I can't remember the lyrics exactly, but I hated the song. But I kept hearing it on the radio. And all of a sudden, it just stuck in my head.
Yes.
So are those days over? Because we don't really listen to radio like we used to. People listen to their own radio, doing their own thing. What happens when with the fact that radio doesn't play songs like that anymore?
I'm gonna have to say the truth. It's been monetized. In other words, you literally will have to spend probably about $100,000 to get your record on terrestrial radio. Mm-hmm. And when I say get it on, I mean probably 25 to get it started and another 25. All illegal, by the way. All illegal. It's always been, the nickname is payola, but it's all illegal. If you don't spend that first $25,000, you will not hear your song very long. You might get 10, 15 plays on 25 stations, and it's gone because somebody needs that feed. And a lot of radio people would say, well, Ixnay, shut up, don't say that, and most of these cats work at radio stations ain't got nothing to do with that part of it. They don't have nothing to do with it. It's done somewhere else somehow. None of us know how it's done, when it's done. We don't know if it's a set of tires on somebody's car. We don't know if it's a favor done or an airline ticket paid for. We don't know what it is. But we do know you will not release a single today without some serious cash ready to be given to somebody, to give to somebody to get that record played. I'm sorry. It's the truth. It's out, and it's out there. If you don't believe me, release your record.
See what happens. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the sad reality, and that's with everybody, right? With most musicians, if you want to hear your music out there. But what can people do about that? Anything?
Nothing.
I mean, the average person who wants to hear their song, not necessarily, be in the background playing it, but they just want to hear their music. There's nothing.
On the radio, there's nothing you can do. There's Sirius XM, Godsend, Sirius XM. They're not as stringent like that. There's a good chance if you have jazz, you're going to hear it on. You can get it on watercolors. you know. But the old school stations pretty much rule the airwaves. You know, all the old music is pretty much what you're going to hear. As soon as you cross over to Heart and Soul, and you start listening to all this new music, I don't know. I don't know. You know, you if you keep hearing it every day, trust me, if you hear it every single day for 2 or 3 weeks, money done been spent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that being said, is that one of the reasons why live performances, getting booked doing live performances is where it is, obviously. It's not about getting your record played. It's about can I book a date somewhere, you know? Is that kind of where we are today?
That is always our hope. You know, all artists put out new material in the hope that, wow, we're hearing something new. I want to be more inclined to go see the artist. For some artists, they don't even need new material. People will still go pay to see them just because they've listened to them all these years, you know.
Oh, put your mic up. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. There are people that still hire us just to hear fun, just to hear Love Train. When we put this album out, we're gonna say, "Hey, we've got something new. Don't you want to hire us for that? Don't you want to hire us for that?" No.
Well, so the biggest question is, you've got so many fans all over the place. People want to support you and support your music. They think they're supporting you when they're streaming and things like that, but maybe that's not really supporting. So what is the best way for your fans to support you and your music?
I wouldn't change a thing. Keep on coming out and seeing us play live. We can't control radio. We can't, and we're blessed to have Too Tight Fun, Shake and Dance, Chase Me, all these, these records, Love Train being played on the radio. And I do mean terrestrial radio. We don't have to pay a dime. They just, we're there. And like Felton was saying, when the phone rings to hire Con Funk Shun, and we have 7 or 8 booking agents throughout the country that ring my phone, not one of them are calling us because we put out something new. They're not calling you because if that happened, my God, we're like, oh my God, that's like icing on the cake, They're calling us because of Love Train, Fun, Shake and Dance. They're calling us because we have a decent show. They calling us because we're gonna be there. They know we're gonna be there. We ain't never missed a gig in 55 years.
Ooh, that says a lot.
Okay.
That says a lot right there.
Yeah, so we're gonna be there. And so it's why the phone keeps ringing, and we are extremely proud of ourselves and our new guys. We got the great Renee Escobedo over here from the Escobedo family. We've got Aaron Green on drums, the Muppet, I call him, the LT Latour on bass. So. No, we're blessed, and we got sense enough to surround ourselves with these youngsters to keep this thing going, and we're rocking, man.
Michael, I wanted to ask you in particular, what did it feel like when you went out as a soloist, as a solo artist? What was that like? And again, I appreciate that you are continuing to be a part of Con Funk Shun. I think we had a conversation with Cisco from Drew Hill, and he went out and did a solo act, and then he came back because his roots are with Drew Hill, and it feels like you guys have done the same thing. But I was curious about that solo thing that you did some time ago.
Yeah, it was very rewarding. I was very lucky to be associated with Club Nouveau, Jay King, who put that whole thing together. Con Funk Shun literally never broke up. We took a break. And Jay King came to me and told me, he says, man, I talked to Benny Medina, and he says he would love to bring your voice over. And the first thing out of my mouth was, oh, okay, can will he sign Con Funk Shun as well? And Jay came back the next day and said, absolutely not. You either want a record deal for yourself or we're going to walk away. And I said, okay. Now, that okay put me in a whole nother bag, right? The first hit we had was what you're listening to is Club Nouveau with me and Jay writing this, whatever popped in our heads in the studio, because we had to hurry up and get a record because we had nothing. And the name of that song was Prove My Love. And Jay had this leftover Club Nouveau, Denny and Tommy had this leftover track, and we wrote Prove My Love. And when we turned it in, they released it, and that put us under the gun to do an album.
Wow.
So the solo career was really kind of strange. It just came together with a series of a few phone calls and a whole bunch of hurried up and what do we have in the can to put Mike's voice on kind of a thing. And it happened rather quickly. And the record went all the way. We wound up on the charts with Pebbles and Keith Sweat battling for number one. So, and that started off, and we just went on after that. Then when we had a little elbow room, a little time, Warner's felt good about signing me to another deal. So then we got into Dinner for Two and, Shoop Shoop and all those different songs. And we had one actually go what they call pop. That was Should Have Been You. And so that really oh my God, this is going to really work out. This is going to really happen. But at the end of the third album, they decided, we're done. We made our money. You made some money. It was lonely. That's what I wanted to tell you. It's lonely when you leave a group like Con Funk Shun, or in my case, you stop it. Felton was with Hamner, and I went solo. And all that time, I was out there on the road, getting on that plane by myself, landing, some stranger picking me up, running on stage, doing a track date by myself, going back to the hotel, nobody to hang out with. Back on the plane, back home. Oh, got some money? Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, man, sometimes it was 3 nights and 4 nights a week doing that. It was very lonely, very lonely. So when we got a chance to put this back together,
That's beautiful.
we jumped on it.
Yeah. I love it. And I so appreciate you sharing that, because that was so real and transparent. That's beautiful. I mean, we should probably
one
let
last
them.
question.
Oh, you do?
I got one last question.
All right.
Who
Talk
came
fast,
up with the
Tony.
name Con Funk Shun? What does it mean?
Okay. If you guys remember the group New Birth, they had a backup band called the Nightlighters. The Nightlighters were known for a song called KG. They had a song on their album called Con Funk Shun. I have Mike tell you the story about how Con Funk Shun, how Project Soul is what we got introduced to the song.
Real quick, that we had been invited to play this weekend show on at Sacramento State College, and keep in mind we had no music other than copy music. We play other people's music, and this thing was called the Unity Festival. So we got a chance to play big wigs, man. We got up, they gave us hotel rooms. I'm like, we only live 40 miles away. But we got hotel rooms, man, and we just, like, we were real recording artists. And on that show, like Felton says, was New Birth, right? And their band being called the Nightlighters, they had a chance they would open up for New Birth. And they got on the microphone, and they say, we're going to play this song for you. It's on the flip side of our record, right? She said, but you got to be careful the way you spell this song, We spell it ConFunkShun. And we was like, okay, that's interesting. What happens, it starts with the horns, and they were practicing that out at the pool that morning. And I'm thinking, oh, man, I heard them play that at the pool this morning. It's 5 horns. These guys are in their swimming trunks out there playing this. da. They just, it's jamming. So when the song starts, the bass kicks in, the drums kicks in, and the saxophone player is wailing. And it has this riff. Da 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 da. Hey, da 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 da. All right. Da 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 da. Huh. Da 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 da. Look at here. Da 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 da. So you can see how excited we are about this, right? That's how excited we're standing out there going, oh my, we like, damn, this is bad. So fast forward to going to Memphis, backing up the Soul Children, and where our name is Project Soul. We're down there, and we're going to start our recording career. First thing Guy tells us is, you got to do something about that name. Project Soul. That's not going to work. That's not going to. We were in Memphis, Tennessee, and it just wasn't going to work. So we go back to the house, we sit around, and we just start, drinking wine and talking. And somebody says, hey, man, what about that group, the Nightlighters? I said, yeah, I remember the group, the Nightlighters. Yeah, no, the song they played. And everybody just, Con Funk Shun. Everybody, just like a light bulb. Everybody's like, yeah, Con Funk Shun. There wasn't another word to be spoken. We went to the nightclub we were playing the next day, and it had a marquee that said Project Soul, and this gentleman's name was Winston Bennett, the owner of the club. And we said, Mr. Bennett, you got to take that down. We ain't no longer, we're not Project Soul anymore. We're called Con Funk Shun. And he looked at me. And his name was, he's a Southerner, his name was Winston Bennett. And he looked at me and said, well, ain't nobody that care about no goddamn Con Funk Shun. Right? I don't care about no damn Con Funk Shun, man. I said, Mr. Bennett, trust me, they will. And when they changed the marquee, the people came out in droves. It was 900-seater X theater called Bennett's Club Rosewood, and we packed it every night, 4 nights a week.
That's awesome.
Wow.
You painted that picture for us. Yeah, that was beautiful.
That is a good note to get out of this show.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Listen, I'm so glad you guys came in, man. I mean, even though we had that quiet storm down there on the end, but thank you guys for coming, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Con Funk Shun on All Access Pass.